Now to what has been a crucial development in the Supreme Court vis-a-vis rising airfares, where the Supreme Court has said that a plea to bring airport costs under the jurisdiction of the Airport Economic Regulatory Authority is maintainable. Now, this could consequently or potentially have major implications as far as airfares are concerned, given the fact that airfares have been on the rise. In fact, as we speak, airfares have really skyrocketed. Now remember, these airport costs add to the airfares, and if they are under the Airport Regulatory Authority, then there could be some rationalization of these prices. What does it really mean for you and I, and will we see some sort of a relief as far as airfares are concerned? Well, earlier I spoke to aviation expert Sanjay Lazar on this. Sanjay, thanks very much for being with us. What is the importance of a regulatory authority of this kind when it comes to airfares, given the fact that we don't have any regulation to, in a sense, curb rising airfares? But these costs, these additional airport costs, whether it's ground handling or cargo services, they do have an impact on airfares as well. How significant is that impact, number one? And number two, how important is it for this to come under the jurisdiction of the Airport Regulatory Authority? So you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you, Vedant. Thank you for having me on your show. This is a very significant move because the Airport AERA was formed years ago to monitor airports that were being privatized in the country and regulate their tariffs on passengers, on PSF, on various things. Now, somewhere in the year 2021-22, this dispute broke out where AERA stepped in and said, whether it was ground handling or cargo handling, they had a say. The matter traveled to the TDSAT, where the TDSAT ordered a number of things, and one of them was, a finding that AERA does not have the right to levy charges or tariffs or to control tariffs on cargo handling and ground handling. This traveled to the Supreme Court in an appeal, and the airport authorities, that is the BIAL, MIAL, DIAL, all appealed against the order to the Supreme Court, stating that AERA had no right to even come to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court has today decided on one thing, that number one, AERA's intervention is maintainable, and they'll decide it on merits. Number two, I don't know if your listeners are aware that, airports operate on what is known as a single till system or a dual till system or a hybrid till system. Those are measures of revenue. Now, what happens in a single till? All activity of the airport is lumped together, whether it's commercial, retail, ground handling, and then the tariff is fixed so that it imposes a lesser burden on the passenger. Now, right now, we are following the hybrid till in the major airports. This is what has come under scrutiny. Now, the Honorable Chief Justice has rightly, and the bench has rightly asked councils, which your, Sunil Prabhu rightly pointed out, that, there are so many councils. So if you can fix up who it is, we can hear it on merits on a day-to-day basis and resolve this issue. What will happen? The HRAB, which is what is under contention here, is the hypothetical regulatory asset base,
yes,
which is how passengers' fees are determined, will be reconstituted, hopefully. And there is some hope of the airport component coming down. That being said, airfares will still be high because airlines are also...
Yes, I think that's an important point, because how much does it impact airfares, and what percentage perhaps of airfares do these costs actually constitute?
I'd say off the top of my head, not more than 10 to 12%.
Exactly.
Because there are taxes as well. Remember, the airport is not taking the 40% of your airfare. The government is. Yes. So until you get the government to bring it down, you're not really going to see the significant drop.
So,
be that as it may, the judgment will be interesting once the merits are gone into.
So, Mr. Lazar, then would you say that we need airfare regulation, which we don't have?
We need the airfares to move into AERA.
Yes.
If government can provide, relief to the passengers and say, okay, let AERA determine airfares as well, then you would see a broad-based change in the airfare structure across the country. Today, nobody wants to touch it because airfares were deregulated. In the erstwhile system, it used to be under the DGCA. Thereafter, it got deregulated in '92, and it's been in limbo. It's free fall. if something had to happen, if either not regulation but control, or some ceiling.
Yes.
Today there's nobody. You can write to the DGCA, you can write to the government, but as a passenger you bear the burden. Simple.